Hello and welcome.
Yeah, we have a few more people signing on right now, so let's give everyone a minute. I know we only have about 20 to 25 minutes for this presentation, so I don't want it to be too short.
The pressure's on to make it even more impactful since we're going to have to send out the recording to everybody that missed it.
That's right. Supporting is ending for Dynamics AX. Now what? You should have put like a little emoji, like the little like. Now what? All right, let's get this party started. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's go through a few housekeeping items for those that are joining us today live. Our presenters are going to encourage any questions or comments you guys have to go ahead and put them in the chat bar. We've now been in COVID for a year and a half, so I'm pretty sure everyone knows how to use the chat tool here in Zoom, but if you don't, there's a quick little reminder there on the bottom corner. And then we also have for audio speakers. So if for some people that may not figure out how to do the adjust button, you'll see a bar. The audio will be on top of the microphone, and then you can adjust there as well. And let's go ahead and let Jeff and John do a little introduction for everyone.
Hello, everyone. So today I'll be doing some of the presentation joined by John Van Meter here, based out of the Bay Area. I've been working with the team here for nearly 20 years and excited to talk to you a little bit about the journey from Dynamics AX to D365 F&O, the latest and greatest of the cloud option here.
Good afternoon, good morning. I'm Jeff Russell. I'm a partner here at Armanino, leading our technology consulting team. And for the benefit of this group, my days in AX go back to remembering that it was called Exapta when Microsoft bought it, right when I became a client of the firm and began my own technology implementation with Armanino. So not quite as long as John, but running on about 18 years now. So looking forward to sharing a few thoughts with you guys today and hopefully answering some questions.
Great. So, really just in terms of the agenda topics we wanted to cover at a high level is, just around a little bit of the new capabilities and how to kind of look at those as they are enablers for your business. And largely what we're going to be covering is, from a mindset perspective, how do you prepare for an upgrade in the context of AX to 365? And then we'll go through some tactical steps and ideas of how to, best make that transition. So just as a baseline here, for those who are on Dynamics AX, some of the attendees today are on 2009 still. Some are on the 2012 R2 and others on R3. Just where they are at in the life cycle, the 2009 and anything before R2 are beyond their support life cycle. So that means no security updates, no functional updates. Really, the R&D is kind of been cut off there. On the R3, they've extended it a number of times, largely due to COVID and other reasons, just to push that out. But the latest and greatest in terms of the extended support is ending in January 23. And so extended support is only security updates. It's no features or fixes other than security patching. And so, what we've seen is a lot of folks who are making this decision to upgrade to Dynamics 365 and ultimately going to the cloud. They need to, obviously have a justification other than just, hey, let's do an upgrade. And there really is just a ton of benefits that we're seeing from clients that are moving to the cloud, notably things around security, privacy, and reliability. Microsoft really takes a lot of care in the way they've structured these isolated tenants as well as shared services and everything from code promotion and release and lifecycle. And with that, you get, a very, very, powerful ecosystem of tools that are also, shared amongst that Azure stack. And so you increase collaboration and productivity. So all your Office applications and integrations and the like. And so we've seen people engaging with their Microsoft Teams and integrations with that to allow the organization to do more, to achieve more. And with all that being sort of centrally governed in the Microsoft cloud, it frees up IT resources to focus on the more strategic things like automations and integrations and incorporating new features and functions into the life cycle, being able to address the business needs more fully. And so there's just a lot of benefits that we see for companies to absorb these new capabilities and just adapt as the business grows and changes. There is an option around going on premise, although the vast majority of people do go to the cloud. And the true benefits that come from that are numerous, of those being the faster time to deployment, being able to spin up instances in an hour or less, as opposed to buying hardware and building it and maintaining it and having the physical restrictions of that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the integrated services of the Azure stack, because those are native and in the same data center and paired and even licensed along with your subscription. Those are just made available. And so they focus on the high availability infrastructure, the disaster recovery, by design, and having integrated sandbox environments that could be spun up just by a few clicks of a mouse. So a lot of capabilities that are above and beyond. And then with that, you get Microsoft's controls and certifications of things, for compliance, like SOC 1 and 2, documentation that they update every year and allow you to download. So each one of those little things is just something that you would have otherwise had to maintain and do in an on-premise environment. And being on AX, you're familiar with what that means from your on-premise environment today. So you're able to offload a lot of that as part of that value add of being in the cloud.
All right, so thanks, John. We're going to cover a few what I'll call recommendations. John's kind of given us a preview on what are some of the driving forces behind why clients and customers are looking to upgrade from Dynamics AX to D365. But I'm going to help level set with a few tips on what we think will help make sure you're successful before we get into the steps for the actual evaluation and implementation. So for starters, we need to avoid the IT project syndrome. So this plagues companies all the time with ERP transformation. And I think this is something that we would present in a ERP best practices webinar. And this webinar is focused on Dynamics 365 upgrade. But I felt that it really needs to be a reminder here that you got to bring the executive leadership. You need to bring the business into the project, into the planning of the project, the execution of the project. The success of the project is predicated on making sure it's a business decision with business leadership, not just an IT team. And then, of course, steering to navigate all the decisions and changes that'll need to be made as you go through the project. So avoid that IT project syndrome as reminder or recommendation number one. Second recommendation, next slide. So you need to avoid the thought that this is just an upgrade. There is an upgrade path. We'll talk a little bit about that. There's a couple different paradigms on how you can upgrade. But this is not Dynamics AX 2012 R4. That is a fake logo we created for this webinar. May or may not have gotten permission from Microsoft to do that. But the point we're trying to drive home here is that this isn't just an incremental step from what you may be using today if you're on the most current release of AX 2012 R3. So the move to the cloud comes with great benefits. And certainly we'll talk a little bit about maybe some of the intrinsic similarities, but nonetheless, you need to treat it and look at it from a mindset standpoint as a new ERP solution and really plan accordingly. So that's recommendation number 2, is to have that mindset. Recommendation number 3, one of my favorites, is really to choose better capability over parity. So the reality is, if you ask yourself this question, is my business the same? Am I doing the same thing, serving customers the same way? Is my product base the same? Am I in the same geographies? Has anything changed in my business since I implemented Dynamics AX? And The reality is probably for everybody in this webinar, the answer is yes. And so growing, evolving businesses want the technology to evolve with them, but there's no better opportunity to take advantage of new capabilities than at this point in their journey where you're looking to move to Dynamics 365. So highly recommend that you choose to do more than just like for like and take advantage of new capabilities in the process.
Thanks. And so, I wanted to just kind of try and find an example that might resonate with a lot of the manufacturing audience that we have on today, and not just in the manufacturing or supply chain segment of the application, but everything from commerce, e-commerce, distribution and warehouse management, financial management, everywhere throughout the organization. Microsoft's really invested a significant amount to, modernize these applications to do more, to enable more capabilities that didn't exist previously. So just taking the example of like the manufacturing execution capabilities of being able to have touch screens with integrated QR codes that can pop up, guides that can instruct people through HoloLens how to perform actions in an ISO regulated environment, just native to the way the application is functioning as part of that core cloud solution. And then when we look at things like integrated business intelligence with embedded Power BI, again, not a capability that existed previously, as well as being able to do real-time machine connectivity with IoT and eventing, so triggers, alarms, thresholds, things that can drive downstream actions and controls in a production environment. So just to think of this as an opportunity to have a bigger sense of an envisioning of what is the art of the possible as you go through it, knowing that there's just more there. And so just to kind of plan a little bit through, what the steps in the preparation phase of a project all the way through going live, really we think that these are just some of those key steps, and there's not a finite list. It's not saying one needs to be done before the other, but the solution evaluation assessment, going through your business capabilities, creating your IT plan, et cetera. We'll go through each one of these in a little bit finer detail and kind of talk through some of the key ideas, considerations, and goals of what you want to accomplish as part of this journey. So in terms of planning your evaluation, the best way to do it is to engage with a Dynamics partner, people who focus on implementing these solutions every day, stay abreast of all the new capabilities that come out in the system, of which there are a huge number of these updates that are laid out in 8 updates each year. And so we're able to help you guys through a framework, and the evaluation frameworks, there's a number of ways we've approached these. We look at it through strategy and transformation, which is broad, looking across all your systems, looking more myopically on just the Dynamics footprint, which we would consider more of a standard migration assessment, or really what we would consider value engineering, or coming up with sort of, a transformational value opportunity for your business to, engage in new markets, serve customers in new ways. And we call that the Catalyst program. Microsoft also has money available to incentivize people to move from on-premise to the cloud. So, working through a Microsoft partner, you can unlock some of those dollars that they're willing to co-invest in the success of your business and the success of your migration.
All right, so this is the pop quiz moment. So when is the best time to define business requirements, even for an upgrade like this to D365? Is it once we're live on the application? This could be a trick question. Is it once you've selected your Dynamics partner to move forward? Is it part of the evaluation process and then revisited during the project? Or requirements just aren't necessary? Let's give everybody the answer, Ashley.
Boom.
You want to define your requirements first. So you probably have a starting point from where you've been, but it should be revisited and should strategically be part of the process. So John, take it from here on our next slide.
Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, I mean, leading right into that discovery or assessment phase of the evaluation process, we want to go through, like I mentioned, a number of those frameworks that we use. There's typically activities that are involved there. The most notable is reviewing the current process, pain points, and opportunities. Really, where can we affect change? Where can we improve your operations? Where can we add capabilities to the business? And so that really takes shape in a number of ways. So it's technical and functional reviews. It's business intelligence and analytics. It's process automation, workflow. So a number of things that we're going to really want to focus on and account for in the change through this upgrade exercise, and then going through an envisioning demo. So really seeing the art of the possible and being able to absorb sort of what is the capabilities that we should be thinking about or targeting as part of this upgrade exercise. And one of those things, and I did see a question in the chat there, in terms of those goals, reviewing IT solutions and strategies. It looks like there's a question about, is a particular ISV solution, in this case, the Armanino high-tech ISV solution, available on the new release? And the answer is yes. Many ISV solutions, including Armanino, have been, obviously moved to the cloud in advance of the release, and they're maintained on an upgrade cadence. Others, maybe for old AX29 or 2009 type instances, probably don't exist or don't exist in the same form, and really should be thought of as more of a an evaluation of whether or not that's the right ISV solution for you. So great question, and I think those things are all quite key considerations as part of the process. So planning the IT strategy. So we talked a little bit about earlier the cloud versus on-premise, and what we've seen is about 90% of customers move to the cloud. About 10% decide to upgrade their R3 to a D365 F&O on-premise. Both are options that are available, and so there's some decisions that you can make. There's certainly industry-based decisions. There's control and investment in data centers based decisions and the like. But we do want to make sure that people understand that those options are available, and then guide them through that best practice there. And then in terms of the upgrade approach, oops, go back.
Sorry.
In terms of the upgrade approach, so there are different ways to kind of look at an upgrade. You can do a code and data upgrade, keeping all legacy history, transactional data. Usually you're not doing a transformational change. It's more, kind of taking what it's on an unsupported platform, bringing it to a supported platform. That's an approach that can be taken. You can also do a code upgrade, but then migrate the data. Maybe you have, changes, don't want to bring all the legacy data. The legacy data already exists in a data warehouse. So we do look at those sorts of things, or more transformational, where you're including new modules, you're deprecating old modules, changing ISVs. Then we're just going to do a re-implementation. So it does give us a lot of opportunities to evaluate the stack. If we can eliminate silos, if we can replace third-party systems, and really focus on a number of the other elements. So the data warehousing, the integration services. So all the IT discussions and capabilities there are one leg of that journey in the evaluation. Now you're good. So that whole, upgrade or transformational re-implementation, I think that one of the key things is, whenever somebody's coming from a familiar platform to the new release, we see a lot of benefits in terms of familiarity. They understand sort of the key processes around posting orders and invoices, and they know sort of where to navigate forms in general. Things are a little bit moved around, but the capabilities, everything that was there is still there, just more. So it tends to be much easier to implement or upgrade from a known commodity like Dynamics AX than to go to a completely different platform. And so I think that's one of the bigger areas around the change management, is making sure that people know that they're not just going to do the same thing, even though they're familiar with how processes were, but really focusing on how they can go through a transformation and learn more about how they can utilize new capabilities to get more ROI, essentially, from the application.
Yeah, just chiming in on this one too, real quick, is clients and prospects will often ask me, what are we seeing more of? And the truth is, it's pretty close to even. I mean, I might say a little bit more leaning towards the transformational reimplementation route, but I guess with a large sample size of dozens of clients that have made this transition with us, many of them are going, the reimplementation path, but there are several that are, following more of that technical upgrade approach as well. So we can certainly help you kind of weigh the pros and cons of that. And if there's a few questions on that, I know there's already one that James asked, we'll talk about here in the Q&A. But we can talk a little bit about that during the Q&A as well. But happy to help with that. That's one of the things we help clients do, is navigate that decision as what's going to be the best sort of outcome for the business. So
Exactly.
All right, here's your favorite slide, Jeff.
this is my favorite slide. So that is the great Kobayashi and the hot dog eating contest. And it is intended to be an exaggeration, not to suggest, I've already told you that this is not just an IT project. Don't think of it that way. But I think the reality is that where Microsoft has invested millions, really billions into this platform, and where they're going, there's so much capability there that's changing, month over month, year over year. And, the longer it's been since you've upgraded, the kind of the bigger the delta is in terms of capability, as John highlighted a little bit up front. And so the reality is, as you're kind of assessing what you want to accomplish, what you're going to embrace, you need to figure out what is the best sort of phasing approach that's going to make the most sense for your environment. And typically, the phasing can be done in a number of ways, right? In many cases, it's done by kind of the workload or the business processes, the areas of the solution that are being leveraged. Perhaps, finance is going to go live before you're going to bring on your supply chain components of the solution. Naturally, most common in kind of many types of ERP projects is doing it regionally. But you could also do it based on replacement of legacy solutions or consolidation of legacy apps, right? So we talked about a lot of the clients that we work with have folded in other organizations through M&A over the course of their journey. And in many cases, not all of those transitions have been completed. So there's a number of options to kind of toggle between to make a decision about what overall rollout plan makes the most sense for your organization. The only universal truth I'll say, though, is that you really need to have a holistic blueprint or a template in mind for what the organization is going to need. What you don't want to do is be sort of reinventing what that blueprint is as you're doing the rollout, right? You want to make those decisions around the capabilities, what you're adopting and when, and then roll that out to the various, entities, sites, et cetera. So that's definitely a best practice, and we've seen that work really well for other clients. Okay, next. So this is kind of the part 3 of this project planning and scoping section. I think the resourcing component of it is, again, it piggybacks off of this concept of put the executive and the leadership backing behind the project. Gartner estimates that over almost 70% of projects fail because they don't have the right level of leadership backing. And really what that comes down to is its resources. It's allocation of resources internally to support the program. And obviously the duration and intensity of the program is going to be different based on the upgrade path you're choosing, the complexity of your own environment, some of those other phasing options that we just spoke about. So you need to evaluate all that, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you have a robust resource plan from an internal perspective around how you're going to support the engagement. And in many cases, what we see as most successful is ensuring that from a business continuity standpoint, you're actually backfilling some of the operational aspects of the business and letting some of the people that are in the business be more part of this transformation or upgrade adoption, as opposed to trying to hire people just for the project. So that's another kind of a best practice and definitely a recommendation we've seen work really well over time.
Great. So yeah, another thing that in terms of getting access to the new code, the new application, the subscription, there's a number of considerations around possible approaches, and there is some transitional promotions that are available. Typically, we're coming on a new fiscal year here, July 1st, so we're always curious to see what Microsoft does, because they don't release that until July 1st. But in general, they've offered programs to help move clients from the on-premise to the cloud, or on-premise to on-premise, which is actually a no license fee charge transaction to get your code upgraded. Or to get access to the new code. So when you do get a subscription or a cloud-based, you can get it through a number of channels. Companies can go through Microsoft's enterprise agreements, what they call server and cloud enrollments. And those are designed to be long-term agreements, price locking. In an inflationary environment, we see that to be pretty attractive to clients that want to lock in a fixed discount for 5 years, for instance. Whereas, for a Microsoft CSP or cloud solution provider type of a license, that's more of an annual type of a commitment. No long-term discounts because Microsoft can, essentially change those, but you can start with, 20 users, and then you can, add a user at any point in time or remove users at any point in time. So very, very flexible. So if you're talking about a 12 to 18 month project, you might start on CSP and go to an SCE, but need to kind of talk through what makes most sense for your business, and kind of model out where you can get the most bang for your buck there. And then really, I guess one of the key things is, obviously going through the implementation and doing all the project, and you're all users of the application, so you understand that those exercises can take some time. But once you've gone live on the application, the biggest change between the previous versions of Dynamics AX and Finance and Operations, the cloud version, is the idea of these release waves and these new feature updates. And so they've shifted to what we call an evergreen application strategy, where everybody is within 2 release waves of the Microsoft standard. And so at a minimum, people are going to be taking 2 updates a year. And with that, having more of a strategy around that ongoing operations, being able to absorb or at least review some of these new features. There's a feature management workspace. They by default don't activate. You have to review them in a test environment, model them, see if it makes sense for the business, and then enable them. And so you can continually take advantage of these new capabilities. And so what we see is, because of this continuous improvement opportunity, clients will often work with a partner through a managed service program to continue to get more ROI out of the application by absorbing all these incremental updates and new feature capabilities, and being agile to the business's needs by taking these things in.
Well, that's it, guys. Thanks. We're here at the Q&A component of our discussion. And I did ask, since James had several questions, if he'd be willing to go live and just get your answers. And so I'm going to put him on. James, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we
we can hear you great.
Hello there.
Hi, John. Hi, Jeff. Hi. Actually, we have worked with John for a long time, and he helped us a lot about how to implement a new software, how to upgrade. So right now we're at AX R3, and we're thinking about in coming down the road, we need to think about how to go to the online, go to the cloud. So I have a couple questions. The first is we want to know, because right now we're using the high-tech module and supply chain from the Armanino. So and John already answered. So for the 365s, we're going to have a high-tech module, but I'm not sure if SCI is still available for the 365.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the SCI was, for those who are not familiar, is a way to interface with suppliers or subcontractors, as well as taking journal entries, essentially doing data integration in a very flexible format. And so Microsoft's added in a new capability through the DIXF, or data management framework, that became the new foundation for the way we address that. It's a higher performant framework, and then we've extended that. Microsoft allows partners to extend that. So all the capabilities that were enabled through the SCI are now taking a new format with the extensions to the DMF, which allows you to do all the same stuff. So a great question, and sort of how you look at the new capabilities and you may
Okay.
not need the old version of the SCI, but you will have
Okay.
a new version of the SCI.
Okay.
And then of course the high tech is sort of a packaged release for you.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
But
Okay,
each
sounds
one you
great.
do want to kind of look at as you kind of go, and yeah, I think that would be look forward to that project when the timing's right to make the move for you guys.
Yes. And the second question is about the migration. So or you said it's just a transformation, and it depends on how much new features we're going to use and how much involved the business change. So and if we just make it simple, if we just migrate the current the functionality in our R3. So can we just reload the data from the R3's database backup file to the 365, or we have to start really from the scratch, like we implement a new ERP, we do the gap analysis, and we do the base, set up a base ERP version, then move to the production version. So
Yeah,
what's
great
the way
question.
normally? Yeah,
Yeah, so I would say that the ability to do a in-place upgrade, meaning taking all your data, all your historical transactions and moving it forward into Dynamics 365 is an option that people take, and then they may iterate and add capability as a second step, or
Okay. Okay.
continuing to maintain. But yes,
Yeah,
so
it
the
sounds
data
good.
scripts
Yeah.
to do that is what it sounds like is the desired approach, and yes, that's an option.
Okay, yeah, that's great, because we don't want to take too much for one shot. Okay.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
it's working today, which a lot of people, go through, they're like, hey, in 2012 R3 is a great application. It works
Yes.
fine.
Uh-huh.
And so why do we want to change? And people who are in that mindset, doing the in-place upgrade is usually a great opportunity for them, and then they can, add capabilities over time.
That sounds good. And the last question is about the server. So because move to the cloud, so we need a cloud server. So we have to select the Microsoft cloud, or we have option to AWS. And which one is a better work with AX?
Great question. So Microsoft hosts in their own Azure data centers. You select which data center you want to be your primary and which one you want to be your secondary or failover data center as part of your deployment. So AWS, I mean, you can use AWS for other services, microservices that you may want to use for outside of the Dynamics kind of container, but Azure is going to be your foundation. It's included in your subscription. It's not an additional charge. It's just part of your decision of you want to look at for especially companies who have international operations, which data center provides the lowest latency for the centralized database across all of the geographies. But it's a great question. They offer some great tools on the Azure performance testing site to evaluate those. So whether you want it in a Singapore location or you want it in a California location, right? Those are key decisions.
Okay, sounds like we subscribe 365. It's include the cloud service. Cloud service.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Got
That's
it.
included, including all the disaster recovery, high availability, a lot of those things we covered. So all in a per user per month price.
How about the domain server? Is it because Active Directory?
Active Directory will be a cloud service, and so it'll be part of an Office 365 Active Directory service. So it can link to your local on-premise Active Directory if you want it to, but it does need to be a cloud authentication.
Okay, so you recommend the 365 and the domain server.
The domain service will be in Azure. It'll be
okay, got it. Okay. That's all. Thank you so much for this great information.
Appreciate the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you,
James. That was great.
Appreciate the interaction, and thank you guys. If there's any other questions you guys have, please feel free to email us or reach out, and thank you all for the attendance today.
Hey, John.
For sure, John. Yeah. Okay.
I got one more question, John. So it came over the online. So we had some questions about running CRM and ERP. So if they use customer engagement and they use AX, do they need to upgrade simultaneously, or can they do a separate approach?
They can do a separate approach. They do need to choose which of the applications will be the core integration database. There's there's a lot of new capabilities around dual write integration. So meaning before you commit a save of a record in one application, it essentially validates and authenticates and posts simultaneously to both applications. So they do need to choose which one will be the primary. So whichever you upgrade first would be that one.
Okay. So John kind of beat me to it, but thank everyone so much for attending. John, Jeff, you guys were fantastic. Love the interaction. There will be a recording, and I'll also be sending out these slides. So for anyone that was unable to attend today, they will receive that recording. Thanks everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.